We are on day 9 of this normal block. Um, so, doing some Larson press today. We're going to do some general back. This is probably what I think is the most boring of the training days. But we still got to get in, we still got to get a good amount of work. So, already warmed up for the most part, took the bar out. This is where we're at right now. So, we're going to hit some Larson. I'm gonna take out like 185 and see. This one I got a pretty decent range on. I have it set to do like 6 to 10 reps for right now, just to see like kind of where we're at. So we're gonna take out like maybe 185 and kind of see how that goes. Maybe shoot for 10, land at 8 or 6 or something. I don't know, but that's where we're at with this. This normal block is going, I think, super well. So. We're coming back to normal pretty quickly. We are going back to where we should have been, or where we were, and hopefully going to catch up back to where we should have been this entire time. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. Man. Smacking those pins. I think I need to set my arch up a little higher. No, we can go right to 185. This is not an absurd jump. I don't think, at least. But after having some, a day to reflect, I thought yesterday's training went extremely well. I was very, very happy with how that went. So very surprising to me. Yeah, again, I'd love the numbers to be higher, but just for where we're at right now, like that was great. I thought that went extremely well. I think there's got to be a point where we have to celebrate some type of small wins, even if the win is not PRs or whatever. We're getting back into it, and that's great. So I haven't done an SSB squat in a very long time, so I have a very hard gauge. I don't really have like a good gauge on like what a good number is to get back to. And the gym that I used to go to did not have an SSB bar, like a regular SSB bar. What they had was an SSB, like a spider bar. So it still had the SSB handles, but it was a cambered bar. It was like it was a very like large rackable cambered bar that they put SSB handles on. I don't know. I've never found it for sale. If I ever do, I'd love to get one because it was phenomenal. Because you had the handles here, but the weight was still low on you. And there was the same as the SSB, the weight was out in front of you. But I feel like because it was cambered, as you went down in your squat, the weight would then fall more forward and more in front of you. And it just really put a lot of pressure, almost like you having to fight to tip forward, and it just allowed you, maybe not allowed you, but it forced you to shove your knees over your toes. So you got a lot of quad work. I really like that bar a lot, but that's really like a hard gauge to get, to compare to for that. We should have went higher. We should have went higher. But I'll take it. 2 more sets. Yeah, 2 more sets. So, man, too, with the training day yesterday and kind of how it went, and the progression we made, I was obviously very pleased with it. It made me look back at the training block itself and kind of how we're, how do we have it structured? What exercises are we doing on what day and all that stuff. So I really was trying to give it a lot of thought on how maybe I could better improve it. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but the more that I look at it, the more I think that this is kind of like the plan. Like this should be what we're doing here. So I don't think we're gonna switch too much stuff up, to be honest with you. I talked about it on the day it was. I think it was like day 2. Good mornings, man. I just don't know if it's right. I don't know if I'm getting enough out of it. I don't know if it's the right type of movement that I want to be doing, but I want to replace it with something similar. So what I thought about doing was doing some weighted back extensions instead with it, because we do have the SSB bar. So I am thinking about doing some weighted back extensions with the SSB, because that's an easy thing to progress if I can get that bar on my back to do them, because then I can add 2.5 pound plates, 5s, 10s, 25s, like I can kind of do whatever I want. And then loading my spine and posterior chain that way, as opposed to the good morning. Because for me personally, good mornings are just like a really awkward movement that I feel, to me, puts too much pressure sometimes on my spine than it does on my posterior chain. Because of the fact that my torso is so long that the second I start to bend, like my center of gravity is so thrown off that I have to do like almost like a slight squat with it. Like my knees have to go forward. And I do have to bend at my knees a lot to get myself to get in a position like that where I just don't topple straight over. Because having any type of weight up on my back, obviously, is going to cause me to have my center of gravity to be a lot higher than it already is. But having a long torso, the second I start to really go, my center of mass is so high. So I thought about replacing good mornings with that. I've been watching a guy lately talk about back a lot. He talks a lot about Poliquin, and I've seen a bunch of Poliquin stuff too from Matt Winning. Actually, I wouldn't say I've seen a bunch of his stuff, because I feel like his stuff is really, really hard to come across. But I don't remember the guy's name, but he was preaching a lot about back strength, and if you drive your back extension up, then other things can come. And I did like his thoughts a lot with it, and I think that his thoughts were not in a bad way, but abnormal. And I think that his thoughts are not what most people are having when it comes to some of the stuff. And I liked where his head was at, because it made sense in my head as well. to take this hoodie off, but I like to where his head was at because he explained, you know, how to, you know, the importance of a back extension and the importance of having a strong lower back. But he explained it in a way of like, if we are pushing other movements, we know we need to have a strong back, then we need to push these movements to the same, like in the same way. And it immediately reminded me of Ed Cohen, where Ed talked about barbell rows and how your barbell row, how strong your barbell row should be. So if you have a strong mid and upper back, you know, it can lead to having a strong deadlift. Obviously, barbell rows do hurt your lower back, posterior chain, because you're using it to stabilize, whatever. But the point was, and I believe, I kind of want to go back to look at it, but I'm 99% sure that Ed said that 40% of your deadlift, you need to be able to barbell row. And in my brain, that makes sense. If I'm pulling 405, I should be able to, you know, get very close to 200 pounds on a barbell row. And that made total sense to me. But I don't really hear that a lot when it comes to other things. So the guy with the back extension talked about, you know, if we can do a back extension with 20 pounds, and our squat goes from 200 to 400 pounds, you know, our back extension needs to then do the same. It needs to go from 20 to 40 pounds, or from, you know, 30 to 60 pounds. Like, and I really like the thought of that, of having a direct progression from one movement to the next. And if we're able to handle this much weight, then we also need to be pushing it here and here and here. I really like that a lot. You know, because it's hard sometimes to, in my head, to get a gauge on where I should be from here to here to here. So if I can bench whatever, you know, I should be able to do this movement, you know, 40% of it needs to be that, or as simple as something that's really hard to do, like if let's say we had single arm push downs and we can only do 10 pounds, and my bench goes from 150 to 300, I understand the thinking that like my single arm push down should go from 10 to 20 pounds, or from 20 to 40 pounds. You know, if we're doubling over here, we should be doubling over there. And it's different because it's a very isolated movement. You know, you are really hitting just that one singular muscle hard. So the numbers should be different, but I really like and appreciate the thought of, if I double here, I need to double there. If I go up, you know, a quarter here, I need to go up a quarter, you know, over there. I don't know. I thought that was very interesting. And it also reminds me a lot of Louis Simmons, because Louis was also very much that way. I think a lot of his stuff too was about volume and training, because I know that he prescribed the reverse hyper, but he had prescriptions based on, you know, it was something like, I forget the numbers exactly, but I believe it was 40% as well, but it was like 40% of your squat volume needs to be then moved over to reverse hyper, and you should be able to do that for so many reps. And if you can't, then that obviously means that your weakness is in your posterior chain. So you get with weak hips, it's weak glutes. Man, oh man. All right. We're going to do lat pull downs. So, to be honest with you, I kind of want to switch the handle up because I'm getting sick of doing some straight bars. I think too, something I picked up from a couple other people, this is from Westside as well, was lat pull downs as a warm up. So I've heard a lot of people talk about like Chuck Vogelpohl would do a bunch of lat pull downs. They joked like he'd do like 200 reps or something like that before like squat and deadlift days and stuff. And I've seen videos of him before, like short little clips of him doing some lat pull downs, warming up and stuff. I always thought it was very interesting. Obviously, if you've ever seen Chuck, very big back, very big lats, good, strong, well-developed back. So he talked a lot. I think he talked about it on Table Talk for like a small little period of time. But he talked about doing lat pull downs, and he would use like the straight bar to warm up. But, he'd hit like a really wide and, crank out 10, 20 reps, whatever it was, bring his hands in, do it again, bring his hands in, do it again, bring his hands in, do it again, reverse the grip, like everything, would use different handles, would use a bunch of different stuff. That was kind of like one of his warm-ups, was just pounding out like lat pull down sets, which is a bunch of different grips, handles, widths, different stuff, whatever. So I do a lot of lat pull downs for a warm-up, and I do kind of fluctuate the weight depending. Normally I got 245s over here, so for the most part I'm doing 90 or 45 pounds. So a lot of times I'll do 90 pounds and do it for like 6 reps, take it off, do some 45s, and then start banging out sets of 10 or whatever. But I do really like that. Lat pull downs are a big thing for me for my warm up. If you ever hear me say that I've already warmed up, that is something I've already done. So I think I'm gonna do a video, or maybe just include it on like what my warm-ups look like, kind of what I do. Some of it I've just, honestly, all of it, I've picked up from other lifters and stuff. There's things that I've seen, like John Hack include in his warm-up videos that I've done. There's things that I've heard about, with, like the Ed Cohen thing or whatever. So I've heard a bunch of different stuff when it comes to warm-ups and kind of like what's really important and what we should be doing here. So I've stolen a lot of things. Pretty much stolen everything when it comes to training, so oh man. All right. Again, a lot of our accessory work is going to be supersetted. Back day, honestly, is about the only day that I could ever, in a way that actually works, figure out where to throw bicep work in too. We don't directly use any of our biceps when it comes to any power lifts, but heard Jan Blakely talk about it before, where big benchers have big arms. biceps are part of the arm. Really like that thinking. So, because he talks a lot about having like that cushion around your elbow is a good way to think about it. And if you're coming down on your bench and you have even your biceps is like something to stabilize, something just to help control the bar and different movements and whatever. Are you curling the bar too? You on a bench? No, but you just still use them. I didn't do biceps for a very, very long time because I just thought that it was a useless thing. In my head, it's kind of like hitting calves as a powerlifter. If anything, you're just doing it to get bigger calves. So I do understand the importance, though, as time progresses on having a bigger biceps. So when I did start hitting biceps, like I should have been, I did see a direct correlation with my bench did go up. So now, did it go up because my biceps got stronger? Probably not. Did it go up because my biceps are stronger? Maybe my whole arm is stronger? Probably. So it does help, I think, even minimally. It does help with tendonitis in my elbows, which sounds weird and crazy, but it just kind of helps give my arm, and I do like the aspect of it does give just more meat around my elbow, around the joint. So when it comes to day-to-day tasks and stuff, if my biceps are super, super weak, they have to work real hard to do stuff. Not real hard, but they have to work harder than they would have if they were stronger, obviously, to do stuff. So we hit some biceps on back day. It's the easiest thing I'll throw in. It's real easy to do a back exercise and then superset it with some type of bicep exercise. So there's something else I wanted. Again, just going back to we're stealing stuff from everybody. I don't know who it was. I saw a random YouTube short or whatever. And the guy talked about grip strength, and I thought it was very interesting, and I never quite thought about it in this way, where he talked about, using straps are gonna make your grip weaker or whatever, and make your forearms weaker. And I'm not saying that that's not true, because there is some truth to that. But his main point was I've never seen somebody with big arms have small forearms. And I was like, man, that's a great point. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but even if you're not doing some forearms, some reverse, curls and stuff like that, or some wrist curls, if you are hitting arms, your forearms kind of have to they have to tag along. Because if I'm doing a bicep curl and I'm, even though I'm not really using my forearms per se, I still have to hold the dumbbell. I have to hold my wrist straight, or if I am bending my wrist to get a different movement, I'm still I have to keep it there. I'm not doing curls, my wrists are just all flappy. So if I'm keeping myself locked into place here, using even my forearms and keeping it here, my forearms are getting a good amount of work. Forearms are grow really well to a lot of volume, higher reps, stuff like that, same as your calves. But I never had problems with my calves growing personally, because for the most part my calves would just grow during my squat and deadlift. And I think in my head it's just because they just stabilize, But my calves are helping to stabilize during a squat. Not allowing my ankles to absolutely explode, or my legs to go whole wobbly on me. And they respond very well to high rep stuff. key to calf training is simple. You know, maybe the key here is hitting high rep stuff. Or not, sorry. Maybe the key here is using these muscles to stabilize, using them as stabilizers, or realizing that maybe they do get a good amount of work just stabilizing. I'm not saying that like everybody's gonna respond super well. My calves, I think, naturally have a good, decent size to them without me having to work for them. So my biceps are the opposite. Even if I don't work on them, they're small. If I work on them, they're small. But I do think there's something to be said about calves, forearms, stuff like that. You know, those muscles that stretch across, you know, from joint to joint, in a part that we're not inherently getting a lot of work on, I think grow by themselves to a point. Then again, I'm not saying you shouldn't or can't do some direct work to them, but I'm saying like, I do think they do get a good amount of work done to them. So yeah, there's not really a part of a movement where my main focus is my ankles, you know, coming up and getting a big stretch in my calves, and then, you know, extending just using my foot. Not really a part of any movement we do, you know. Even squat and deadlift, like, yeah, our ankles are bending, but what, minimally by like 2, you know, maybe we're going like 30 degrees from like, so like, I definitely don't think that, like, if you had bigger calves or bigger forearms, I don't think you'd be able to bench more or squat or deadlift more just based on that. But big or not, let's just say strength wise or endurance wise or anything, having bigger calves and bigger forearms allows us the ability to use our other muscles to do it. Kind of like what we're saying with biceps and a bench. Having bigger biceps is not going to translate to a bench. We never do triceps, pecs, shoulders, anything, and all we ever do is bicep curls. No, we're not going to be able to bench, you know, 405 because we have big biceps. But it's very rare that I see somebody bench 405 that doesn't have some type of biceps. You know, I've never seen somebody squat 800 pounds and have gigantic thighs and hamstrings and have no calves whatsoever. Maybe they have bad genetics, their calves are asserted very high, you know, they don't grow, whatever, but they're not weak calves, and they're not like non-existent. You know, they don't look like a guy that's never worked out before, has zero definition of his calves whatsoever, or zero size, and then they have this giant like upper legs, and I've never seen anybody when it comes, like, let's just say with the forearms, like, I've never seen anybody with gigantic biceps and triceps and have like these just like twigs of lower, you know, arms. This just doesn't happen. And I've never, like I said, I've never seen big benchers have like tiny biceps. So I realized that, came to that realization after seeing a bunch of stuff. So we've been hitting biceps more. I hate it. I hate biceps. I don't know. I just think it's a pretty mundane movement. No, I just don't feel like doing curls. I don't know. It doesn't excite me, but it's what we got to do it's very necessary to do what we need to do. What we want to do is bench more. So if we want to bench more, we just need to have bigger biceps. And apparently we need to throw on another plate. I think too, honestly, this should have been very obvious to me, and it wasn't for the longest time. But I didn't compare myself enough, I think, to lifters stronger than me. And the whole point of this channel and of this block being listed as normal is to show normal training, to see, to show what normal numbers may look like, to see what it's like to work out in a normal gym, garage gym. Maybe in that pursuit for a long time, I was so focused on myself that I didn't want to compare myself to top lifters. I didn't want to compare myself to, lifters better than me in a good, healthy way. And I should have. And what I should have been doing is looking, maybe not looking at their stuff and going like, man, I really wish I could be there or whatever. That's not the point. But maybe what I should have done is I should have taken a step back and gone, okay, what makes them better than me when it comes to, and obviously you have to compare yourself to guys that are built like you, but like physique wise, what makes them better than me is they can train more. They've been doing it longer. They did it when they were younger. They naturally have, better genetics than me. It's not the point, but, I realized it during my first meet, but it really hit me when I competed for the second time. I remember doing the meet and showing up, and we're all warming up for bench, and we're in a circle, and there's like 4 or 5 of us, and we're all going around like, what do we plan to hit today? A bench, blah, blah, blah. Most of us were right around like the 315 range. There was, a guy that was, wanted to hit like, mid threes. But I remember a guy saying he wanted to hit 430. And I remember all of us like, whatever. And I remember laughing and going like, no, seriously. And he goes, no, like, I want to hit 430 today. And I think the record was 434. And he was like, I want to beat the state record today. And I realized it then, but I really realized it the next meet, watching another guy take out 420 plus, that both of them just had bigger pecs than me. And like, it really hit me standing there in the second meet, watching this guy bench mid fours, or not mid, low, like to bench low fours, and standing beside me, and I'm looking at him. We're in the same weight class. I got the same size shoulders. I have the same size arms as him. His pecs were 4 times the size of mine. And that's what really hit me then, and it hit me during the first meet. Same thing with that guy that wanted to hit, bench over the state record. He was really planning to hit 430, and he was going to go for 440. So he ended up hitting the bench record that day. But it hit me hard for both those guys. I was like, man, dude, they just got bigger pecs than me. That's all this is. This has nothing to do with, it has some stuff to do, but it doesn't all have to do with like, well, he's got better genetics than me. I'm like, no, that's not. Yes, probably. Is he more built to have bigger pecs? Sure. Were they both a little shorter than me? Yeah. But like, there was a point where in my head, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and then when it came to squat, like any of these guys I saw at meets, I watched guys squat like, high 4s, low 5s, mid 5s, high 5s, 600s. Like, and I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at them and I'm like, my hamstrings are good size compared to them, good development. My glutes are the same size, if not bigger than theirs. I'm even looking at their erectors on their lower back. Like, my erectors are more prominent than even theirs were. But the difference was their quads just hung off of their legs. And I was like, I just don't have the quads to squat more than what I want to. So if I want to squat more, my quads have to be stronger. They have to be bigger. I have to work on my quads. And that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we got to work doing. exactly what we started pushing, and workout so far. Yeah, dude. I mean, coming to that realization mid-meet is like eye-opening to really sit back and go, you know, where am I missing compared to these dudes? And I think that's look, that's healthy. That's how you compare yourself to somebody. You know, they say a lot, you know, comparison is a thief of joy, and there's a point where, you know, sitting back and going, you know, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. You know, I'll never be as strong as that guy because he's just genetically stronger than me. It's crap, and honestly, it's a terrible mindset to have. It's a terrible mindset to look at other guys that can train longer, can train more often, that have access to coaches, you know, better food, more resources, and to go, well, I'll never be like that, so what's the point? It's a terrible mindset to have, you know. That's not the mindset we want. The mindset we want to have is to go, what can I take from them and implement into my own stuff, for one, but also what, you know, how can I compare myself to them to realize what I'm lacking? No, I should not be able to look at guys that bench more than me, you know, that, you know, can work out more often, longer, that have coaches, that have resources, that can, you know, get better supplements, more sleep than me, and like beat myself up about it. But what I can do is look at guys that bench more than me and just admit to myself, they're just bigger than me. And if I want to be, you know, the same, if not better of a bencher, I need to get bigger. I need to get bigger here. I need to develop more here. I need to work on this. I need to work on that. You know, watching guys bench more than me, they're explosive off the chest. They are explosive. I think that's a big difference between benching 300 and 400 pounds. Is when you're seeing these guys bench 400, they're explosive off their chest. Which comes down to the fact that they have big pecs. You know, you're not handling 400 pounds with pecs that don't exist, and just your triceps and shoulders. So I need to compare myself to them to realize that my pecs need to be bigger. I need to compare myself to realize my quads need to be bigger. You know, that's it. You know, end of story. And watching guys too that deadlift more than me for the most part, especially guys that pull conventional like I do, realizing that like. People say that they're not correlated all they want, but like the truth is they have bigger deadlifts than me and they also have bigger squats than me. So if I can get my squat up, my deadlift will follow. You know, we are using the same muscles. We may not be using the same movement pattern, but if I want to become a better deadlifter like them, I also need to be pushing my squat, because that means I need to be pushing lower body movements. So it's kind of what we did. We adjusted. I adjusted very quickly. Almost immediately started hitting pec work. Almost immediately started hitting quad work. You know, more direct quad work, and really focusing and hammering down on that. So that's what we did. That's how you compare yourself. I am not going to spend a lot of time, energy, and effort looking at somebody else and going, I want their training. I want to be able to train as long as them. I wish I had the amount of money that they had to spend on supplements and foods, and I wish I had the time, resources, and energy, and schedule to sleep as much as they do. You know, I can't do that. I won't do that. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not going to look at them and go, they have better equipment than me. I wish my gym looked like that. You know, they're only better because they have an SSB bar and I don't. No, like the thing is, they had bigger quads than me, they had bigger pecs than me. That's why they squatted more than me, and that's why they benched more than me. So if I want to make the adjustment, what I need to do, if I think an SSB bar would help my quads, which is exactly why I got it, is I wanted something that would work my quads. I got an SSB bar. Now I wasn't envious over the fact that they had an SSB bar, but I wanted to have one myself because I knew it would help me get my quads to where they needed to be compared to theirs. And I still don't think my quads are there. I still don't think my pecs are there. I still think that I need to be hammering pecs nonstop, and I do. And I think I need to be even hitting quads more than what I do right now. So that's how we compare ourselves. That's how we move forward in a good, healthy way. That's how we improve. That's how we get better. I think when it comes to a lot of things, I think that I think we need to be careful on who and how and in which way we really compare ourselves to. So I think I realized that after having kids and after having a wife, and realizing that like these are people that I have to take care of, and these people, as a godly man, become my responsibility and something that I have to care for. I have to provide for, I have to protect, I have to cherish, all that stuff. So I realized then that like if I was going to do the best job that I could, it does not mean I need to figure out the best job that everybody else is doing, because I cannot compare myself to somebody and expect that I'm going to be able to do what I need to do to the level that I need to do it at. Looking at other people, like right now, like I can't look at somebody else's schedule when it comes to lifting and be envious and go, I want that, because that person might have some other things that I don't want. Maybe that person does not have kids, they don't have a wife, and I wanted those things, and that's what I have. So yeah, I can say all I want, that I wish my squat was bigger, I wish my bench was bigger, I wish my deadlift was bigger, but I want to be the best lifter that I can be, given the amount of time that I have, the amount of resources that I have. I want to be the best lifter that I can be while having 3 kids and a wife and a job that all come first before lifting. So we talked about it the other day in a video. I think lifting is like 5th in my priority list right now, as it should be, behind God, behind my wife, behind my kids, behind providing for them. I have other responsibilities, so I cannot compare myself to somebody that does not have the same responsibilities as me. Now, I can look at them and use their tools to help me, or to realize maybe where I need to be better in that way. But I'm not going to compare myself and wish that I was them. I'm not going to compare myself and change my life completely to be more like them. It's just not going to happen. So we don't have the same lives. I don't have the same resources. I don't have any of that stuff. So comparison is just not what we need to be doing here. I'm going to compare myself to better myself, not compare myself to tear myself or them down. I'm not going to compare myself to somebody to also go, well, I got it better than them, or I have it worse than them and I still did better. That's not the point. But we are not going to spend time to compare ourselves to other people. that we don't know their situation, they don't know ours. So yeah, I think we can learn a lot from other people. We can take a lot of their things and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we still need to do it ourselves. We still need to do what we need to do. So other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. It was a pretty easy, quick workout. Did some Larson press and back. Nothing too crazy. Our next day, we're going to go back to day one of the week. So this will be, we'll go to day one, week two, basically. So it'll be like day 10. That'll be our main bench day. I love main bench day. I love benching. Don't know when that's going to be. It's currently Friday right now, so I don't know if I'm going to get in here Saturday, Sunday, or what we got going on. But if I do or don't matter. If not, we'll get back into it on Monday, and we'll get to these heavy sets of bench, which I'm super excited and pumped for. So that's pretty much all I got. Again, don't really know how to end these, so I think that's gonna be our outro. Is that I have absolutely no idea how to handle an outro in any type of way. So pretty much it.